We are halfway through 2026 and the Kamloops real estate market looks nothing like it did in January. Today I want to walk you through exactly how we got here, what the June numbers are telling us in comparison to last year, and where I think the second half of 2026 is headed. But before we get started, my name is Scott McDowell with the Kamloops home team at Royal LePage Westwind Realty. We are a local real estate team based right here in Kamloops. We work with both buyers and sellers across the city every single day. These market updates are something I like to do because I think people deserve the straight information about what is actually happening in our market, not just the headlines. But before I start with the numbers, I want to quickly explain a metric that I use the most when I'm looking at the market health, because it's definitely going to come up quite a bit throughout this update and it's definitely worth understanding. It's called the month supply of inventory, and the calculation is quite simple. You take the number of homes that are currently listed for sale, and then you divide it by the number of homes that are selling each month. And the result tells you exactly how long it would take to sell everything that's on the market at our current pace of sales. Traditionally, under 4 months supply of inventory is considered a seller's market, between 4 and 6 months is considered a balanced market, and over 6 months is considered a buyer's market. So I use these numbers because it definitely cuts through the noise faster than almost anything else out there. What it tells you is in real time who has the advantage, either the buyers or the sellers, and how much things have shifted. So with that in mind, let's take a look where we started this year and how far we've come. At the very beginning of 2026, the Kamloops real estate market was sitting very much in a buyer's market territory straight across the board. The single family homes were at 8.7 months supply of inventory, townhouses were sitting at 9.7 months supply of inventory, and condos were above 8 months, and it was climbing at that time. So the buyers definitely had the advantage in every single segment. Inventory was elevated, but there was a real question as to which direction the market was going to go as we headed into the springtime. So when we take a look at single family homes, it dropped from 8.7 months supply of inventory in January all the way down to 4.9 months supply of inventory in May. That's actually back right into balanced market territory. And what actually made this quite remarkable is the way that inventory was actually growing at the same time. But again, with the growth of inventory, we actually had quite a bit of sales during that time, which is actually pretty typical from January to May, but it was actually growing that gap quite a bit stronger than most markets here. So normally that much new supply actually weakens the market, but it really didn't during this time because the buyer demand actually grew even faster than a traditional market. Sales went from 44 in January all the way up to 127 in May. Again, that's quite seasonal, especially when you're talking the winter to spring market. But that is nearly 3 times as many buyers showing up in the spring months compared to the winter months. So the benchmark price in May, it was actually sitting at $671,600 for May for single family homes. Townhouses actually had a very similar story throughout the entire spring. They had one of the hottest stretches that we've seen back in March, when one supply of inventory actually dropped all the way down to 3.3, which is actually seller's market territory during that little bit of a time. Now, since things have actually settled after that, by May, townhouses were sitting at about 5.7 months supply of inventory with a benchmark price of $508,100. Balance, but there was definitely some strong momentum behind it. Now, condos were quite a bit more of a complicated story as we head into the summertime. The month supply of inventory appeared to improve significantly through the springtime, dropping from over 10 months earlier in the year down to about 6 months supply of inventory in May. But that improvement was partially as a result of older listings being pulled from the market rather than a true surge of buyer demand. In May, the condo benchmark price was sitting at $378,900 with 185 active listings and only 31 sales. Okay, now let's take a look at what June is telling us and how it compares to June of last year. Starting with single family homes, June we saw 134 sales, a benchmark price of $684,300, 663 active listings, and an average days to sell of 51 days. Now you compare that to June of last year, sales were actually down 14.7%. Now that number can be read the wrong way without some context. When sales typically drop and the prices go up, it usually means one of two things. Either the buyers have pulled back completely, or there's simply less available to buy. In this case, I really truly believe that it's the second one, as inventory is actually down 4.6% compared to last June. So what we're seeing is inventory and quality listings come back. So even though we have a lot of demand for people to be purchasing these homes, I think the quality of single family homes that are out there that are priced appropriately to the market is definitely quite a bit less than what we saw last year. So with less quality homes that are priced to the market, you have less sales. The benchmark price was actually up 1.2% year over year, and the month supply is sitting at 4.9%, almost identical to where May ended. So in this market, fewer sales, less inventory, and higher prices is definitely not a weakening market, it's just a tightening one. Now, the homes that are well presented and priced correctly are still the ones that are moving. Whereas the properties that have possible condition issues, maybe they're overpriced or have some complications like tenants living in the property where the home doesn't show very well or has a long possession time, or even some homes that maybe have some under-rented suites, those homes tend to take a little bit longer and tend to sit on the market for quite a bit longer and possibly have a lot more price reductions. Now moving over to townhouses, this is one of the strongest year-over-year stories in the June numbers. We had 36 townhouse sales in June, a benchmark price of $506,500. We had 179 active listings and only took 45 days on average to sell. Sales were up 16.1% compared to June of 2025, and homes were actually selling 14.4% faster than they were 1 year ago. So now this is quite a real improvement. Now, compared to May, month supply of inventory actually tightened from 5.7 down to 5.0, which actually tells us the demand stayed quite strong as we moved into the summertime. The benchmark price, however, is down 5.8% compared to June of last year. So what this is telling us is that this segment is very price sensitive. The buyers are active, they're engaged, but definitely quite disciplined in comparison to previous years. If a townhouse again is priced right, they're selling, and they're selling a whole lot faster than they were the same time last year. So if you are selling a townhouse right now and coming in at the right number from day one is definitely the move. There's not a lot of room to test the market and adjust later on. Now for condos, I want to give you the full picture here. We had 31 condo sales in June with a benchmark price of $373,800. We have 191 active listings and an average days on market of 55 days to sell. Sales were down 3.1% year over year, and the benchmark price is essentially quite flat. So a very surprising little stat here is that inventory was down 12.8% compared to last June, which at first glance sounds very encouraging. But a portion of that improvement was definitely influenced by a lot of older listings being pulled off the market rather than a true tightening of demand. Month supply continues to sit at about 6.2%, which is still on the edge of buyer's market territory. The condo market actually faces some real headwinds over the next year or so, as the rental inventory is going to continue to come online over the next couple years. More rental options means renters have less urgency to buy, and that definitely softens the demand for the condo ownership in the condo market. So if you do own a condo and you are thinking about selling, being priced aggressively is definitely the strategy right now. Buyers in the segment have tons of options and they are incredibly patient. However, for condo buyers, this is actually a reasonable entry point with tons of room for negotiation and a lot of good selection that's available. Now let's take a quick zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture, because Kamloops doesn't exist in isolation. Sales activity in the central Okanagan were actually up 9% last month. Interior BC market is definitely trending in the right direction. So when markets around us start to strengthen, it definitely supports what's happening here. And right now the regional signals are definitely positive and heading it as we head into the second half of the year. So what does the rest of 2026 look like? My honest read is that the second half of 2026 should be meaningfully better than the second half of 2025. The foundation is actually quite solid. Inventory has been absorbed steadily throughout spring and the summertime. The buyer demand is showing up consistently, particularly in single-family homes and townhouses. Prices are holding or rising in these segments, and demand is definitely the strongest. Especially with the 5-year fixed rate sitting at 4.19%, buyers definitely have far more purchasing power compared to where the rates have been over the past couple years. So for single family homes, I do expect the market to remain quite stable with continued demand for the right properties. Homes with issues or a little bit run down, not staged, or have some potential tenants and condition and showing issues will definitely face some downward pricing pressure. And for townhouses, these balanced conditions that we've seen through the spring and summertime should definitely carry into the fall season. There's a lot of good selection for buyers, steady demand for sellers who are priced right. For condos, it's going to be a tougher road. Sellers need to be very aggressive on the pricing, and buyers who are patient and informed definitely have some real opportunity. Overall, we are in a much healthier market at the midpoint of 2026 than most people really expected when January started. It's definitely not a frenzy, but definitely not a correction either. A steady improving market that definitely rewards sellers who are priced right and gives some buyers some real opportunities before the conditions tighten any further. So if you are thinking about buying or selling in Kamloops and want to know exactly what this specifically means for your situation, definitely reach out to us directly. Whether you're trying to figure out what your home is really worth today, or what you can realistically afford as a buyer, or whether your timing makes sense for where you're at in today's market, that's exactly the kind of conversations that we have with people every single day. No pressure, no obligation, just straight information that you make a decision that actually makes sense for you. You can definitely reach us through the link in the description below, or search Kamloops Home Team. You'll find us anywhere in socials, online, and our website. We're always here. We're always happy to help. And if these market updates are useful to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button, as I put these out every single month, so you always know exactly what's happening in the Kamloops real estate market. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye now.